How important is it, though, to achieve a commendation or a distinction, if important at all?
Don't give up. Do keep in mind that you want to get that training contract and apply as early as possible.
You've also been appointed as an external examiner.
Yeah, you're always learning as a lawyer.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Legal Diaries. Now today I've decided to do something a bit different. It's September and we're getting to the time of year where a lot of you guys are starting law school or considering going to law school. So I've obviously done the LPC, as a lot of you know, and I thought if I could go back in time, what are the sort of things that I would like to know? So I reached out to David Amos, who is Director of the LPC at City Law School, and he's going to talk to us a bit about today, just about how to make the most of the LPC. So without further ado, David, could you just give us a brief introduction about yourself and who you are, please?
Yeah, sure. I qualified as a solicitor about 20 odd years ago actually now, so and my formal title at City is I'm the Director of Legal Practice, which means, as you say, I run the legal practice course, but I also have responsibility for the CPD unit that we have here, so there's quite a lot of crossover between the two parts of my role. Of course, there's two stages to it. The first is the compulsory stage of the course, which they call stage 1, and wherever you go, whatever LPC you go to, you do the same subjects, and the three core elements of it are business, property and litigation, but as we might discuss in a minute, the LPC is quite a different course to what you would do at your academic stage, and so you do a set of skills. You do interviewing, legal research, writing, drafting and advocacy, and then you also do professional conduct, business accounts, tax and wills. And that's stage 1 of the course, which is the compulsory element of it. You then get a chance at stage 2 to choose 3 options, 3 electives. You can, if you wish, do all of stage 1 at one provider, and you have to do that under the rules, and then decide that maybe they don't do the electives that you want, and then go and do the electives at another provider. Okay. Yeah, that's a good question actually, because that's one of the things that I find most years that is probably one of the most difficult things for some people. And you do find some people who come onto the course, they've done really well at their undergraduate level, and they just don't get on with the LPC at the start. I think the thing that you've got to remember is what the LPC is there for is to prepare you for a training contract, and so it's a practice-based course, it's not an academic course, it's skills-based and it's transactional, and so what that means is instead of discussing the law, all the different cases, legislation, etc., what you're doing is trying to apply it in a way that helps your client. And so the approach is quite different. Exactly. The study approach is probably quite different as well, depending on how the assessments are run at the particular provider, but it's really the mindset that I would say that's different. Yeah, now it's interesting because when I first started teaching on the LPC, essentially the course was the same wherever you went, and it was just a question really of quality as much as anything else, but now you've got a lot of different options. So if you've got the time, I can talk you through the sort of things that you might want to think about. I think one of the things that you need to think about is delivery. Now, for example, we're probably at one end of the spectrum because what we do is a lot of face-to-face teaching. You find that some providers will do a lot more of the teaching online, and so you just have to take your choice in terms of the way that you think is best to study for you. You can of course decide if you want to, you can study part-time as against full-time, and different people will have different modes of delivery as far as that goes. The other things that you need to think about in terms of delivery are things like class sizes, contact time, etc., etc. Again, you need to think about what works best for you in the way that you study. What I would say about the LPC, and we just talked about the sort of transition that you'd make from the academic to the vocational stage, is you're probably going to have to choose somewhere where you feel comfortable and you feel supported. because it is an intense course, really.
Exactly.
So,
And it goes so fast.
Yeah, it does.
So fast.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's the other thing. We've just started this week, and that's one thing already the students are saying to me. Blimey,
Yeah,
please go.
exactly. Exactly.
Yes. Well, it depends to some extent on the type of firm that you're going for.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a hotshot commercial lawyer like yourself, you need to do that really from sort of year 2 probably of your degree. You need to start looking around. And in fact, whichever type of law that you want to go into, the earlier the better, really. But what you'll find, and this is increasing the case for students on our course, is that if you've missed a sort of time limit for someone like Allen and Overy and Clifford Chance or whatever, don't give up, because there are plenty of firms that recruit much more closely to the time that you start. And so you should have in mind the fact that you want a training contract and you want to build the sort of CV and skill set that is going to be useful for future employers right from the very start of your degree probably. And so what does that mean? That means getting legal work experience, doing pro bono, or perhaps finding work experience where the skills match the sort of things that you would do as a lawyer. First thing, if you get onto the LPC, I could say with certainty most people who come onto the LPC will be able to pass it. So a certain amount of it is just about the attitude that you take to it, because you've got to turn up, you've got to work hard, you've got to put the effort in. A certain amount will vary depending on the provider. So for example, we've got our assessments are all open book, and that means that you can take in your notes to the exam. So in terms of preparing for the assessments and doing well on the course, what you need to do is to be able to organise your notes well and be able to sort of have everything ready for when you might need them in the assessment. But that's actually teaching you the sort of skills that you'll need as a lawyer, because good organisation is an essential part of anything. The other thing that I would say, because it's a skills-based course, you can only really learn those sort of things by doing them. And so what you need to be able to do is to be prepared to have a go, and to, if you're in a session, I mean our skills sessions are 8 students, so you can't really hide, but if you're in a session like that, you've got to be prepared to take part and have a go. And you'll find that tutors are not going to be critical of you. What they like to see you trying something out, and then they can guide you to where you need to get to. You find, particularly with students who've gone through degree onto the LPC, if they're going to be successful, you see them really mature on the course, and they make that transition from being an undergraduate student to being a professional. And I mean, on a day-to-day basis, it's that point at which you explain something to somebody and you just think, yeah, they get it. You know, that's really good feeling. But then, as you see them go through, and because it's a smaller course, we still keep in contact with a lot of students as they progress in their careers. That's really satisfying.
It must be.
It is important, really. I mean, probably, to be fair, not as important as your first degree. So what you'll find for a lot of firms is that in terms of CVs, what they'll do is they'll look and see, have you got a 2-1? If you have got a commendation, if you have got a distinction, that's going to help you. That is definitely going to help you. Yeah, it's an interesting one, because it does depend on the type of exam that you're doing. Again, I would say a lot of it's about organisation, about organising your thoughts. If it's an open book assessment, it is about organising your notes. Otherwise, the other thing to remember about the LPC, because it's that thing about advancing your client's case, a lot of it's quite procedural, really. And so there are steps that you need to take in order to progress a case. And so when you're preparing, be quite active in the way that you prepare for an assessment. So, for example, if it's doing a tax calculation or if it's a litigation matter, there will be certain steps that you can take. So prepare a flowchart which says this is step 1, this is step 2, step 3, etc. And the other thing is, and I'd say this for an undergraduate degree as well, perhaps just try some questions under time conditions, in the sort of conditions that you would do them in the exam, and see how that works for you. I mean, here we will do we do mocks for everything, and we'll give you feedback on the mocks, so you get an idea of where you are and what you need to do to improve. But do that in your own time and be honest with yourself about how you're getting on. and that should really help you, I think, to be successful.
Amazing, amazing. And how would you say that people should prepare for the skills part of the course, the interviewing and advising? Because I don't think, well, I didn't study that on the undergrad, so my first time of, you know, having any sort of kind of introduction to interviewing and advising was actually on the LPC.
Right, okay. I think really that's a question just of practice, really. And it's that thing about have a go at something, and then particularly on the oral skills like that, what you can do, it's a bit terrifying at first, but you're always on camera, so you get that problem with this. But you know what you do is we've got recording suites, so go into the recording suite, have a go at something, record yourself, have a look and see what you actually look like having done it, and then you probably will, if you're sufficiently self-critical, be able to say, yeah, there are things that I need to improve on. Yeah, really important. Really important. Yeah, I mean it's as well as the sort of skills that you're assessed on. You should try to develop the sort of general soft skills, because being a lawyer, big part of it is about communication and relationships with people, that sort of thing. And so two things. Firstly, you want to get on with the people that you're on the course with, because that helps you in terms of studying for the course.
Exactly.
But also you don't know what's going to happen in the future. So
definitely.
Some of my students who got training contracts have found their colleagues' training contracts through the firms, but it is also a preparation for the sort of thing that you'll go out and do in practice, because what the firms expect and what clients expect is that technically you're a good lawyer. Being a good lawyer, a large part of it's about communication.
It definitely is. It definitely is, because it's one thing to bring the clients in, but retaining the clients is a whole different story.
Yeah, exactly. The way I would look at it is, I enjoy my job, I enjoy being a lawyer, I've always enjoyed being a lawyer, and like I say, it's always about learning, but it's also about trying to improve yourself constantly and trying to be the best you can be. And so if you like that, if you have that attitude, all the other things flow from that. So yeah, there is competition, but don't see that as the primary thing. The primary thing is to do a good job. If you do a good job, people will come to you. Really.
It's a great way to look at it, actually. I might take that on board myself. Thank you very much. That's all the questions I have to be today. Thank you so much for coming to feature on LawCareers.net. I hope this was helpful to all of you out there who are thinking about embarking on the LPC or have just started. I'll leave all of David's contact details below, so do feel free to contact him and follow him on Twitter. Thank you so much. Speak to you in my next video. Bye.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.